Good afternoon, folkers, or good evening. It's evening right here in Southern California. And it is March 2nd, 2020. And I came to bring some news in regards to the coronavirus, okay? Now, first we're going to start with a conference or press conference with Donald Trump, okay? And I want you to see what the agenda is in regards to this coronavirus, okay? They're going to be pushing a vaccine, okay? Just pay attention to this part, all right? Slow data. So, till this starts up. Now, I want you, the second part of this video that I'm doing, the first part is going to be in regards to...
And we will have that started. It's already started, frankly. It started about a year ago. The White House Coronavirus Task Force, led by Vice President Mike Pence, has been meeting daily and coordinating closely with the state and local governments. Mike had
I would like to call out the whole, Fair Use Act thingy, So, I'm going to be jumping in and making commentary in these here videos and in audio, okay?
Call today with 53 governors, and I heard it was a very good call, and everybody's very well coordinated. And the governors and the states, all of them, I can't think of an exception. They've been really working closely with us, and it's been a very good relationship. We will confront this challenge together, and we will continue to do exactly what we're doing, and we're going to be very successful. A lot of things are happening.
Now, before we move on, I want to point out, I did a video where they were saying they needed $2.5 billion in emergency funds to go towards the coronavirus, and it's about to become clear what at least $1 billion of that is going to go to.
A lot of very exciting things are happening, and they're happening very rapidly. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mike, and you can say a little bit as to your calls and some of the things that have happened today.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And the White House Corona Task Force will be meeting again this afternoon. But as you mentioned earlier today, at your direction, we hosted a video and telephone conference call with 53 governors. As the President said many times, we're all in this together. And today's meeting is a reflection of the fact that this president are the one team in America that's going to address the coronavirus in this country. And I'm grateful for these leaders of the nation's top pharmaceutical companies to come in to speak to us about the development of vaccines, but also the development of therapeutic.
The development of vaccines. Okay? Now, they want to develop the vaccines. They want to push the development of these vaccines. And, now the only question is, how are they going to implement this vaccine onto the people? What about the people that don't want the vaccine? Are they going to force it on them? That's a good question here.
Medications that can be available in the short term. And we're grateful for your participation. The President will also be traveling tomorrow to the National Institute of Health, CDC, before the week is out. And we will be meeting with leaders of the airline industry. We'll be meeting with leaders of the cruise line industry. And we welcome the partnership with industry in this country as we work out the President's top priority, which is the health and safety and well-being of the American people. Let me also, Mr. President, extend my welcome to Dr. Deborah Birx, one of the leading experts in infectious diseases in the world. She has served in the uniform of the United States. She has served in multiple administrations, and she's going to be our right arm here as we implement your vision for putting the health and safety and well-being of the American people first.
Right.
So with that, Mr. President, I know Secretary Azar has a few thoughts, and look forward to the meeting.
And Alex, maybe you can give a little update, and then we'll go around the room and people can introduce themselves, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. So we continue to see cases here in the United States. As you know, we tragically have experienced several more deaths reported today. And our condolences go out to their families, of course. That's why the president's leading this whole of government response at the direction of the vice president. We're here working with the pharmaceutical company leaders on 3 key issues. How do we speed vaccines? How do we speed therapeutics? And
how do we speed vaccines? That's the number one concern. That's the number one agenda. You think, oh, well, that only makes sense. We have this coronavirus out here killing people, spreading so quickly. Why wouldn't we be talking about vaccines? Well, because they're going to put the coronavirus in the vaccine along with aluminum adjuvants as well as other metallic adjuvants that are going to cause problems to your health, that are going to compromise your immune system. These things compromise your immune system. Once you bypass all the stages of your immune system to go directly to the bloodstream with this shit, it throws your immune system out of whack, okay? It suppresses your immune system. That's what this shit does, okay? You know, there are certain processes that your body goes through when it naturally inoculates you, okay? It goes to the stomach. Much of your immune system, much of what your body fights in terms of infections happen in your gut, okay? A lot of shit doesn't get past your gut. But when you put this shit past your gut and directly into your bloodstream, it causes problems, okay? Not to mention that aluminum is a neurotoxin. And with these wireless transmitters hitting us with these microwaves and millimeter waves, opening our blood-brain barrier, this allows the aluminum to get into our brains, okay? They want to put this shit directly in your bloodstream, okay?
Challenges that we may be facing for pharmaceutical products here in the United States. With regard to therapeutics and vaccines, we want to know how we can not get in their way, but rather speed that development process along. I want to make sure that they all know that we've got
They want to hurry up and put this poison out there to be injected into you and to your children. You understand what I'm saying? It's going to be poison. They're going to put live virus cultures in your body, and guess what? The cultures of these viruses have to grow on something, which is usually dead animals, aborted fetal tissue, horse liver, all kind of shit. They're injecting it into you. You understand what I'm saying? They're putting this shit in your body, and it's supposed to be like a sterile form of the virus, so it doesn't replicate. But we know how that works. So pretty scary what they want to do. They're really accelerating this. And it's going to be in a pharmacy near you. And who knows, they might push some legislation to force everyone to get these vaccines, make it mandatory. You can't leave the house without getting this vaccine. So what is this coming to? What is this coming to?
Commissioner Hahn here from the FDA, and this is all in the context of emergency powers, emergency use authorizations, and the president will be asking.
Emergency powers, emergency use authorizations. I'm going to do another video in regards to those emergency powers, emergency use thingies that he just mentioned. Hold on.
Asking you, how can we make it fast? I want to make sure that they all know that we've got Commissioner Hahn here from the FDA, and this is all in the context of emergency powers, emergency use authorizations, and
emergency use authorizations, emergency powers. When you hear that, you should be very concerned. When you hear government officials, government functionaries mention emergency powers, emergency use authorizations, you got to be very, very, very alarmed by that.
We'll be asking you, how can we make it faster? How can we make anything faster? How can we challenge some of those normal pharma timelines?
Listen, it's pretty clear what's going on here, okay? They're pushing these vaccines, all right? They needed something to push it over the hump. And guess what? With these deaths that have occurred, and with the proliferation of this virus in the United States, it's going to get a lot of people on board, okay? Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. Create a problem, get the people to react in an irrational and emotional way, and then present a pre-planned solution that's ultimately going to give them more control over you. You understand what I'm saying? or some other agenda. All right. So let's move on from that. We're gonna move on to this case here. All right. Now, as you heard, there have been more deaths. You heard him say that. There have been 6 deaths in the country already. The first death in the United States happened over the weekend. All right. And just that fast, just by today, there have been 5 more deaths. But I want you to peep something here. Okay. And it's going to go a little bit to a higher and deeper level. And I want y'all to understand what I'm going to here. Okay. Pay attention to where most of these deaths occurred.
9 states from California to Massachusetts.
ABC News.
Good evening. It is great to have you with us here to start a new week. And we begin tonight with fast-moving developments involving the coronavirus here in the U.S. Tonight, the virus has now taken at least 6 lives here in the U.S., and there are at least 100 confirmed cases. The toll growing, and with testing, they are expecting that number to rise. On Friday here, those cases diagnosed in 9 states from California to Massachusetts. And tonight, take a look. At least 4 more states, including New York and Florida, more than a dozen states now. And those 6 deaths attributed to the virus, 4 of them at a nursing care facility in Kirkland, Washington. Schools closed in several locations, this one in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And the first case...
4 deaths in Washington State in one nursing home. Okay? Nursing home, where older people are. They already have weaker or compromised immune systems. Let's keep moving. Something else important about the state of Washington.
Case now in New York City. What we've learned about her, and the governor today saying they hope to be able to test 1,000 people a day. Dr. Jen Ashton standing by to answer your questions tonight. Has the virus been circulating in some U.S. communities for weeks now? We begin tonight in Washington State, the center of a lot of concern. ABC's Kaylee Hartung in Kirkland, Washington tonight.
Tonight, a growing emergency outside Seattle. The death toll from the coronavirus climbing to 6 in Washington State.
The risk for all of us of becoming infected will be increasing.
4 of those victims lived at this nursing care facility, now the center of this outbreak. Colleen Mallory's 89-year-old mother, Peggy, who suffers from dementia, is a resident.
You know, if she gets sick, she's going to be gone.
Colleen got to see her mom today, but fears she's been exposed to the virus.
They wouldn't tell me anything about her roommate, who has been removed from the facility. And my mom's been in the room with her for all this time.
New research suggests the virus has been quietly spreading here for weeks, often by people without symptoms. Across the country, the number of cases climbing to at least 100 across 13 states. Today, Travis Air Force Base in California releasing about 140 passengers from the Diamond Princess cruise ship after weeks in quarantine. But the mayor of San Antonio declaring a state of emergency, moving to block any evacuees quarantined at nearby Laughlin Air Force Base from entering the city. The mayor slamming the CDC for releasing a woman hours before a final test for the virus came back positive.
I find it totally unacceptable that CDC would release a patient prior to receiving all test results and
Was
potentially...
that an accident? Did the CDC release this woman by accident? You think they released her by accident, knowing that the final test results did not come in? Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
exposed to the public to this harm. We simply cannot have a screw up like this from our federal partners.
That infected person visited a hotel, a mall, and a food court before being put into isolation. New York State hopes to be able to test up to 1,000 people a day after announcing its first case in Manhattan. A 39-year-old healthcare worker who returned from work in Iran is now self-quarantining at her home with her husband. Officials are reaching out to fellow passengers on her flight and her livery cab driver.
There is no doubt that there will be more cases where we find people who test positive. We said early on, it wasn't a question of if, but when. This is New York. We're a gateway to the world.
The city now disinfecting more schools.
They're putting it in your mind that this is going to happen, this is inevitable, this is going to get worse. So they're going to accelerate the vaccine, which I believe is just a belief. It's just a guess. It's an inkling. It's a gut feeling I have that the vaccine has already been developed. It's already developed. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. I mean, it is what it is. It may not be. It may be. but I feel like it's already developed. So they're going to accelerate it. They're going to bring it out. And then what?
Buses and subways. In Rhode Island, this high school is closed and 38 people under quarantine after a student and faculty member tested positive for the virus following a school trip to Italy. And as the virus spreads, Americans from coast to coast taking no chances, braving long lines to stock up on supplies, finding some shelves bare.
And Kaylee joins us tonight from out.
And as the virus spreads, subways. In Rhode Island, this high school is closed and 38 people under quarantine after a student and faculty member tested positive for the virus following a school trip to Italy. And as the virus spreads, Americans from coast to coast taking no chances.
You don't want to be at the
long
store.
lines to stock up on supplies, finding some shelves bare.
You don't want to be at the
Kaylee
store when
joins us
that
tonight
happens.
from outside that nursing care center. Kaylee, health officials there in Washington, I know, are preparing for the situation to get much worse, even planning to set up special isolation units. How will this work?
Well, David, today we learned that officials are in the process of buying a
You see what's going on here? Special isolation units right here in the
motel
United States.
and bringing in modular housing units, all to put people in who need to be in isolation. We already know of dozens of first responders and healthcare workers
Emergency
who are
modular units to bring in case people need to be housed there who have been infected. Ooh, we shoot. Interesting. New York, the gateway to the rest of the world, as Cuomo said. Also, where they're trying to pass this new ammo law. Ooh-wee! So, I told you guys, New York City. Special attention and care should be placed on, let's see, Washington State. And why is that? Well, because they had 4 deaths. I think 6 deaths. I'm not too sure. I think at least 4 in this one nursing home. But we have to understand something about the state of Washington. They get very little sunlight. They get very little sunlight year round, okay? They get very little sunlight, which means much less access to vitamin D from the sun. Vitamin D is crucial to your immune system's health. You need vitamin D. If you're in a state like Washington State, you need to be getting vitamin D from somewhere because you're not going to get it from the sun. Not that much, not enough. So you need to be eating foods and taking supplements that will provide you with the vitamin D you need. Okay, cod liver oil, sardines, salmon. You know, and what's funny is nature brings the vitamin D to you via the ocean, via the rivers, and via nature out there in Washington because the sun's not going to bring it. So nature on the ground is going to bring it to you. A lot of salmon there's a lot of wild fish up there that provides a lot of the vitamin D that you would need. So if you're living in states like that, you need to be consuming a lot of this type of seafood that's going to provide you with the vitamin D you need that you're not going to get from the sun. You understand what I'm saying? So, the sun's not going to give it to you if you're in a state like Washington. Very crucial to understand that in Washington, your immune systems are more likely to be compromised, and you need that vitamin D. The vitamin D is an enzymic process that fires all kind of things. It takes care of all kind of shit in your body, particularly with your immune system and all kind of other systems. So you need that vitamin D out there. Not a lot. You're not getting a lot of sun out there. And that's one thing I wanted to point out about Washington State. Okay? Now, y'all know how I feel about the coronavirus itself and whether or not it's actually a thing, you know. But if they are... Okay, so I already explained to you guys. I did a presentation on millimeter wave technology and what it does to the oxygen. Okay? You also need oxygen. Your organs need oxygen to help these processes move along. The process of the vitamin D firing in your system, you need oxygen for that. Your mitochondria needs oxygen that's also going to compromise. If you're not getting the proper amount of oxygen in your body, because these millimeter waves are hitting and absorbing the oxygen and destroying it, and destroying any chance of you absorbing it, then your immune system is also going to be compromised. So in a state like Washington, where you're not getting a lot of sun, where they hit you with these millimeter waves, I'm curious to know if there is a 5G tower, a 5G transmitter close to that nursing home where those 4 deaths occurred. I'm very curious to know that. I'm not speaking on causation, I'm speaking on correlation. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, that's all I got for now. Pay attention to Washington State. If you live in Washington State, make sure you're getting some vitamin D. If you know somebody who lives in Washington State, make sure they're getting that vitamin D. Tell them to get some cod liver. Tell them to get some cod. Tell them to get some salmon. Tell them to get some sardines. Tell them to get that shit. You're not going to get the vitamin D you need from the sun in Washington State. It's no surprise to me that most of the deaths in the United States happen in Washington State. It's always dreary. It's always, the sun is practically non-existent out there 9 months out of the year. All right, so yeah, that's all I got for now. Let's stay on top of this. I'm gonna stay on top of it myself, and let's keep it moving toward freedom. Let's keep it moving toward exposing the bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? Look out for any news on those vaccines. All right. I'm going to create an email account so that you guys can hit me up via email. If you have any information, if you want to hit me up for any reason, I'll create an email address specifically for you guys to shoot me any messages or anything you want to send me. All right. So anyway, holla at your boy. Hit like, share, subscribe, and keep moving toward freedom and help others move toward freedom. Peace.